Woo! What's going on, y'all? Nick here, coming to you with another video. Check this one out, you guys. This video right here is going to be more of an intellectual video. This is for my people who actually wish to be financially literate and want to prosper in their finances. All right, you guys. You know, in the Bible, it says that money answereth all things. But it also says the love of money is the root of all evil. So let's actually bring that in line. This video is by no means intended for you to be a lover of money. But what we're here to do is just educate ourselves in the world of finances. Because if you are struggling financially, at the end of the day, it's going to be because of your inability to educate yourself in financial literacy. All right, you guys. With that being said, let's actually just get right into it. All right, you guys. So first things first, we need to understand that America was at one point in time backed by gold. At one point in time, you could literally go to the bank, give your dollar, and the bank was supposed to give you gold depending on the value of that dollar that you gave it, right? The U.S. was actually backed by gold. You probably remember the California gold rush and all the things that you learned in history, right? Why did the U.S. go off the gold standard, all right, in 1971? So let's actually read this here. It says, the U.S. abandoned the gold standard in 1971 to curb inflation and prevent foreign nations from overburdening the system by redeeming their dollars in gold, for gold, excuse me. Now, who was in charge of this? If you do your research, you will know that it was President Nixon, all right? This happened in 1971, all right? Since then, since we have been taken off the gold standard, what you need to understand is that we have adopted what's called the petrodollar. Now, the petrodollar, petro is the prefix for the word petroleum. What is petroleum, guys? All right. Petroleum is a liquid mixture of hydrocarbons that is present in certain rock strata and can be extracted and refined to produce fuels including, listen, gasoline, kerosene, and diesel oil. All right, you guys. So in other words, the petrodollar is money that is backed up by oil. Now, there is one country in particular that's extremely important when it comes to this, all right? So, according to the petrodollar agreement, Saudi Arabia was supposed to sell oils in dollars, and in return for this, the U.S. would provide military assistance in the form of selling weapons to Saudi Arabia. Thus, the petrodollar agreement came into being. All right, so quick recap. The U.S. used to be backed up by gold. In 1971, Nixon took America off the gold standard. What? And now we have partnered up with Saudi Arabia so that the U.S. dollar is backed up by oil. All right, so that's why the term petrodollar. Now, this is important, all right, because gold is something that man has no control over, right? Like gold existed because of God himself. He created the earth with gold, all right? Now, why is this important? Because over the course of history, you will see that there's this infatuation, and rightfully so, with gold, because gold is natural money. Gold is actual tangible assets. All right. So what you have to understand is that throughout the course of time, throughout history, you will see that there's many currencies that has come to existence, but they all have failed eventually, except one, gold. You can also include silver in there. But in other words, natural, tangible assets are the only form of currency that has stood the test of time. Now, there is something that I want to show you guys before I actually delve into what we need to do today as a people in order to prepare for a new form of currency, which you probably saw in the title, called BRIC. All right. So now, this is Muammar Gaddafi, as you can see in the picture. Gold dinar, the real reason behind Gaddafi's murder, all right? I want you guys to educate yourselves here, all right? The gold dinar, a groundbreaking initiative. In 2009, Colonel Gaddafi, then president of the African Union, suggested to the states of the African continent to switch to a new currency, independent of the American dollar, the gold dinar. The objective of this new currency was to divert oil revenues towards state-controlled funds rather than American banks. Again, why? Why is that? Because again, anybody that Saudi Arabia, it has a lot of oil reserves, right? So anybody who would make transactions to receive this oil, they would have to pay in American dollars. So you could see how that would put a strain on a lot of countries, especially Africa, who for the most part is very self-sufficient, except in certain areas such as oil. So you can see why, okay, even though we're self-sufficient, but I need to continually deal with the Westerners, America, because we need the American dollar in order to make transactions for oil. So now what this man is doing, Muammar Gaddafi, he's pretty much saying that, all right, I'm trying to get off the American dollar so that I can actually deal with gold, because we have an abundance of gold. All right, now let's continue reading, right? The objective of this new currency was to divert oil revenues towards state-controlled funds rather than American banks. In other words, to stop using the dollar for oil transactions. Countries such as Nigeria, Tanzania, Egypt, and Angola were ready to change their currencies. Actually, I don't think that's Tanzania, that's Tunisia. Excuse me for that. Unfortunately, in March 2011, the NATO-led coalition began a military intervention in Libya in the name of freedom. All right. Free water, almost free gasoline, free health system, and free education were commonplace for Libyans under Gaddafi's dictatorship. No, it's interesting that they call it a dictatorship. I mean, hey, that sounds like some good type of dictator. Anyway, the leader who has been in power for 41 years has managed to gain the support of all the major tribes and buy social peace through radical measures and a policy of shared oil revenues. All right. So now you can see at this point in time, right, Gaddafi was pretty much very influential in the continent of Africa, pretty much uniting a bunch of countries in Africa, and they all had pretty much the same mindset. Okay, we want to eventually get off of dealing with America and any other foreigners in the realm of the dollar, all right? And we want to go deal with them in terms of gold. Now, you can see that forming such a alliance amongst a bunch of African countries, you can see why that would be extremely concerning for the West, all right? Now, let's keep going. With an excellent management of oil revenues, the Libyan state had managed to store hundreds of tons of gold, 143 tons according to the WikiLeaks, and the same amount in silver, right? All these resources were going to make Libya the most influential country in Africa, supplanting France, for example. Now, isn't that interesting? France, right? France is part of Europe, but yet France holds, some power within Africa. Do you see that? So, I mean, we could go into the whole racism and we could go into that all day, but let's stick to the finance, all right? But pretty much with this initiative, Africans are pretty much trying to reclaim power of their own country. Again, they're trying to be self-sufficient. All right, that's the key, guys, being self-sufficient. Gaddafi wanted to avoid American influence in his oil transactions by using this gold. He launched the Gold Dinar Project, and other major African governments were ready to support him in this project. It was both an African dream and a nightmare for the West financial system. The end of the African dream. This information was discovered through Hillary Clinton's electronic mailbox. One of the 3,000 emails showed that NATO's willingness to overthrow Gaddafi's government. NATO mainly wanted to neutralize the African gold currency supported by Libyan oil reserves. At the beginning of March, The Libyan army and many militia loyal to the government had already crushed the rebellion thanks to their number and equipment. However, with Western intervention, the dream of a unified monetary system based on gold and independent of the dollar perished. So there you have it, right? Now, you're probably wondering, what in the world does this have to do with BRICS? Just stay tuned, you guys, all right? Just be patient. I promise you it has everything to do with the BRICS nation, but I'm setting up something for you guys to understand, right? Essentially, there are countries all throughout time, again, they want to operate in gold. America got off the gold standard and wanted to operate under the petrodollar, which we can see how well that's working because, and I mean, just look at the American dollar today. I mean, the same dollar that can buy us, X amount of stuff, it doesn't have that same purchasing power today, guys. So the American dollar, it is clear that it is failing. You always hear these rumors, we're in a recession, we're in a depression. I mean, you hear constantly over and over and over, and it seems like we can't get a break. Just look at the high interest rates, all right, you guys? So yes, I'm trying to tell you that all of this is important because, again, America is not dealing with gold. So we're never going to have any type of financial stability in America because we're not operating after real currency. All right, you guys got to understand that. Now, here's where it gets interesting, all right? So how long will the dollar last as the world's default currency? The BRICS nation are gathering in South Africa this August with it on the agenda. Well, this month is August, all right? So check this out. Could a new currency be set to challenge the dominance of the dollar? Perhaps, but that may not be the point. In August 2023, South Africa will host a leader in Brazil. All right, so this is the BRIC nations, you guys. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. A group of nations known by the acronym BRICS. Among the items of the agenda is the creation of the new joint BRICS currency. All right, you guys. Now, let me also mention this, that if you do your research, there was research that actually showed that Saudi Arabia pretty much are seeing how America is, how the finances are set up in America, and they pretty much like, it's been good knowing you, but we kind of want to dip. So we trying to like pull back. Again, do your own research for that, but Saudi Arabia, there was rumors stating that they too want to actually be part of the BRICS nation. So that's something to also bear in mind, especially, again, because if Saudi Arabia, again, which is, they have great revenues of oil, right? And they are a great supplier of oil. If Saudi Arabia officially says, you know what, deuces to America, all right, we no longer want to have this petrodollar agreement. We don't want to sell our oil in the US dollar because, again, the US dollar is starting to get weak. We want to go back to gold, which is what the BRIC nations are trying to do. Could you see why this would be extremely detrimental to the US dollar? I mean, that would literally handicap and completely stifle the US dollar as we speak, all right? The BRICS summit comes as countries across the world are confronting a changing geopolitical landscape that is challenging the traditional dominance of the West. And while the BRICS countries have been seeking to reduce their reliance on the dollar for over a decade, Western sanctions on Russia after its invasion of Ukraine have accelerated the process. All right. Meanwhile, rising interest rates and the recent debt ceiling crisis in the U.S. have raised concerns among other countries about their dollar-denominated debt and the demise of the dollar should the world-leading economic ever default. All right, so again, America can't handle its budget, and therefore other nations are just like, you know what, you're not looking really stable right now. It's probably best for us to dipset out of this dollar. All right, that's pretty much what's happening. So here's the last bit.
So I'm very concerned about the decision that the BRICS are going to make in August. If they come out with a digital currency backed by gold and other countries start dumping the US dollar, That's going to put our economy, I mean, you think of the value of the dollar, what will happen there? If the value of the dollar goes down and we import 75% of what we consume, that means that's inflation on a massive scale. So
you're talking about countries like Brazil and Russia and Iran and China, the BRICS that could have a rival currency, right?
That's exactly right. And we're already at a massive low on reserve, U.S. dollars being held in reserve. So it could hurt the value of the dollar and cause hyperinflation.
And I tried to get you at something you might not be up on, but you're up on all of that. Congress are always good at saying.
All right. So clearly you can see that even in Congress, it's starting to form a concern. All right. This is a legitimate threat to many people's livelihood. All right. So what's the solution? All right. You know, I love the book of Genesis, in particular, the account of Noah, for a huge reason, right? Because here you had the Most High. He was telling Noah of an impending doom. I'm gonna pretty much flood the world, right? And I'm sure most of you guys know the story, so I won't bore you with all the details. But this is the main point, right? For 120 years, Noah was preaching to people, telling them that rain was going to come. And nobody believed him. Nobody believed him. And in the meantime, he was also building the ark, right? Could you imagine somebody coming to you for 120 years? Of course not, because most of you are not even that old, and most of us won't even live to be that old. So, again, somebody preaching to you the same message of what? Pretty much prepare. And that's the solution. Prepare. You know, a lot of times people, you may not have seen that proverbial raindrop. You may not have seen it yet. That does not mean it's not coming, right? It's the same thing, right? The jab. None of us knew it was coming. But when it came, I'm sure many of you probably wish you were not stuck on those lines trying to buy toilet paper. Oh, hell no. You get what I'm saying? And hand sanitizer. So the solution is to prepare. In this case, again, I remember back in 2014 when I first was privy to this knowledge. Again, this information is not even something that I came up to. I'm not gonna take credit for this, but there's been many wise men before me that has implemented this advice that I'm about to give you, and I see how it has blessed their lives abundantly. And what's that? It's so interesting that they always said just buy gold and silver. And when I heard that advice back in 2014, I remember a gold coin was about, I want to say, if not 1,000, maybe a little bit under 1,000. A gold coin, guys, a small gold coin that you could just fit in your pocket. No bigger than the size of, you know, maybe a dollar, a dollar coin. Like it's so small. You would think to yourself, like, what can that really be worth? It was apparently worth $1,000 back in 2014. Do your research, guys. You know how much a gold coin costs now? $2,000. $2,000. 9 years removed from 2014. So what I'm saying is that, you know, a lot of times you can be very slow to act because, you know, we never seen rain. Man, we don't gotta take no jab. Reality can change before your face in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. And it would behoove you, it would behoove all of us to just listen to wise counsel. I mean, what would it hurt to purchase a gold coin anyway, or a silver coin? What would it hurt? The answer is nothing. The only thing you're gonna do is thank yourself, because 9 years from now, it probably might gain another 1,000. You see, you guys, you can't be so narrow-minded. All that money that you have, maybe you don't need to go buy the new pair of Jordans. Maybe you don't need to buy some new clothes, right? Again, the word is need. Do you need to buy it? Most likely not. Maybe you don't need to buy a PS5, which is only going to distract you any damn way. How about you save some money and just start purchasing gold, some silver, in any small amount, so that because I'm not here to say this is gonna happen 100%. That is not what I'm trying to say. But if this is to happen, that we are literally going to be taking off, the petrodollar, the US dollar, and go back to a gold standard, then you will think yourself that you have at least some gold in that day, time, and hour to be able to provide for yourself, for your family, friends, and loved ones. Why? Because you prepared. Because you prepared. So why was I talking about Gaddafi earlier? Now, the reason why Gaddafi was so important is because, again, I'm not here to say that the BRICS currency is going to 100% be put in effect. That's not what I'm saying. Because as we could see, when Gaddafi tried to implement the gold standard for his people in Africa, the West shut it down through its military might. I do not know what's going to happen this time around with the BRICS currency. We can have another Muammar Gaddafi situation. It might get shut down. But in the case that it does not, that's why I'm telling you guys to simply prepare. It would not hurt, but just prepare. Because again, like I said, it seems very evident that throughout the course of time, that countries do not want to give up on being able to actually deal in gold. They are making a concerted effort to go away from the US dollar so that they can be more self-sufficient. So again, just prepare yourself. All empires throughout the course of history has fallen. All empires. So it would be very naive of you and very prideful of you to assume that America is 100% safe, right? It can't possibly happen. Drip, drip. Now, of course, again, the human condition, a lot of people don't want to prepare because, like I said, it forces you to forego many of the luxuries that you want to spend your money on. At that point in time, I can't help curb your lust. That's something that you're going to have to work on. But I've never seen anybody that has prepared to the point where they are resentful because they've gotten too much. I personally haven't seen it. The worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to be living very comfortable, just in case, like I said, for all those who are gathering tons of toilet paper and hand sanitizer, as well as other goods. I'm sure when they were forcing everybody to take the jab, I'm sure you were so happy you didn't have to go out there. You didn't have to wait on those ridiculous lines. I'm sure you were thanking yourself because you just prepared. I'm sure Noah was thanking himself as well as thanking the Most High that he prepared by building the ark. I'm sure he did, because when that first boop, 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 when that drip comes down, right? When that drip comes down, all of a sudden it's no longer a joke, is it? Yeah, it's no longer a joke, is it? Hey guys, I hope you guys found a lot of value in this video. I hope you guys were educated today. And I'm not talking about, the way the public school system will do it, but you actually gain some real knowledge. Everything, I'm going to leave all the links down below. But again, it would really behoove you if you actually just do your own research, right? That's why I'm going to leave the links for you so you can read on it yourself. I think it would really behoove you all if you guys just study on this situation and just prepare. With that being said, you guys, Nick over and out. That message sent. Jesus is King, y'all.